Hey everyone.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm so glad you're here. What's behind you? Where are you right now?
I'm in the consultation room at the specialty Walgreens. It's like my little mini office. I got a little computer there. We don't actually give vaccines here or anything, so it's like my little kind of.
Cool.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, I make sure that I understand, Misty. Well, just like last year, each of the groups will get like 5 minutes or whatever to present. Okay, good. So I have Gigi here, who was my lead student pharmacist, who will be doing that for me, but I'll introduce her when it's time for her to talk.
Okay, awesome. And I'm also recording it because I think the P3s had an exam today and the P2s had an exam today. So I don't know how many people might listen to it later and get more out of it.
Sure.
I wonder too, I think you're right, Dr. Gonzalez. I'm trying to see who's all on the call. It might be that this is a nice recording for later. So DJ will be on the call and she's going to be talking about the public health rotation, and James is on the call too and he'll be talking about India.
I think Dr. Fan is on the call too. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So Kelly, do you like how I can give myself a tan with my ring light by, see, now I'm look all washed out. Now I have a tan.
How are you doing that?
My ring light. I was inspired by, I think it was American Idol that was on. I absorb those shows while they're on in the room. And I'm like, look at those cool lights they have for their presentation. So I ordered one online. It's the best.
That's amazing.
Wait, I turn it off. Now I look dead.
This is Carrie. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm trying to get the computer.
I can hear you.
Okay, I gotta figure out how to get my video now because I'll figure it out.
Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. I think we have all of our speakers, right?
And Tatiana.
And
Do you think there might be students that went to the other meeting ID?
I did at first.
I don't know how to check that though.
I just went in and it just says waiting for the host to start. So
Sorry. Since Jing is the host, Misty, do you want to switch over to that other room and start it and see if there's people there in the waiting
I think,
room?
Kelly, can you do that? I think you created that one originally.
Okay, I'm gonna open the other ones and just see what's going on over there.
yeah, if you open the other one, I mean, I can monitor it because I was trying to go in, but since I was waiting for the host to start, I didn't see anybody else, you know. But if you start a meeting, then I can probably see.
Dr. Lynch, I was gonna say doing virtual stuff has made me conscientious of like lighting too.
Yeah, right.
And that's why I'm seeing the window, because if I like face the computer, I'm just like you said, I'm like dead. Like you can't even see me. It's so
Well, if
dark.
I face the window, then you see my dirty kitchen. So
Oh yeah.
that's,
So
I have to, the background is also a
yeah,
relevant.
the background is important too.
That's why I'm hiding my camera. My background is still great right now because I'm stuck in my basement for the moment.
Yeah, the best is when you have pets like running like around and like doing things and you're trying to do something important.
No,
They
the
just keep
best
barking.
are Kate Newman's children in the background. Screaming, Mom, 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 Mom.
It's been a little rough.
I love it. I think it's great.
Poor Chris has been on all those calls. My children like launching things off the balcony and like me like running, climbing out windows and stuff.
No one was in the other breakout room.
Okay, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started then. All right, well, welcome everybody to the first virtual online global education forum. The way we have this set up is we're going to have each site talk about the highlights of their trip and have some student and guest speakers. And even though we're in a pandemic right now and there is a lot of travel restrictions, we want to keep in mind that a lot of these rotations are or these experiences are for greater than 1 calendar year in advance from now. So hopefully we'll be in a better space for travel and safety and for general health overall. But we'll keep that in mind. We're still going to do our applications and provide the information as if we are traveling. And then when we get into our breakout sessions, we'll talk about some alternative plans that we might make, because we definitely don't want anybody to be going somewhere if it's not safe to go there or from a health or safety standpoint. Okay. And then I think we do have some great public health experiences that we're going to talk about too locally, where there'll be lots of opportunities to practice. First up, we have Dr. Kelly Gable, who I think has a guest speaker who's going to talk to us, Dr. Finley, about her Haiti rotation.
Yay! Let me say a couple things really quick, and then I'm going to let DJ take it away. First of all, it's hard to tell. Is there anybody on the call right now that is specifically interested in this this public health rotation? Okay, so I'd say DJ, let's talk for the recorded, so people who are listening later will get a good experience or understanding. I want to say that this rotation is intended to be 1 week in Haiti, and then the rest of it St. Louis with me. And the reason I think it's important that DJ is here to share her experience is because even outside of a pandemic, traveling to Haiti can be challenging, and with political unrest and safety issues, this trip is never a guarantee. And so DJ, unfortunately, was one of those trips that did get canceled in terms of going to Haiti. And so I really wanted her to share what her experience was like on the public health side of things, so you can see that it really is a pretty awesome, I think, rotation, even if you don't get to travel to Haiti, which of course is always the best option. So take it away, DJ.
Sure. Okay, so I actually had like our first slide of our project that I wanted to share. Is there a way, can you stop sharing so I can show? Okay. Here we go. Can you guys hear me? You're kind of cutting out. You can hear me? Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. And let me know if you can see my screen too.
You're sharing your screen, but it's just showing a black screen right now.
Did she freeze?
I bet so.
I think she's frozen.
Mhm.
Get her, she's really mad at us.
Well, while she's hopefully getting her Wi-Fi issues in order, I'll share a little bit more about how this goes. I'll try to be in the spring. It's intended to be a 1-week trip to Haiti where you work in a pop-up clinic that is partly a pharmacy, so a pop-up pharmacy, and also partly a ambulatory care clinic. And there's a family medicine nurse practitioner and a pharmacist actually that are married, and they run that together. And Dr. Gonzalez and I went a few years ago to see how feasible it would be for our students to be present, and we loved it. It was a beautiful experience, and since then we've sent students back there with this group, and it's Hands Helping Haiti. And so the part of this experience is learning how to work in an environment with a skill set that you learn in pharmacy school, but in a very space in the world with different resources. And the whole hope is that you also take that wisdom that you've gotten from Haiti and see how we use that in St. Louis in some of our impoverished areas within our homeless community. And so you have a specific on public health within the St. Louis region as well. And so one of the joys of this experience is that even if you don't get to travel because of unrest, you have the opportunity to do all of those beautiful things with direct patient interaction in St. Louis as well. Okay, we're back, DJ.
Sorry, I got disconnected. Just don't worry about sharing my screen. We created a final project that basically talked about what we did throughout the rotation. And I do want to say that I was very bummed that we weren't able to go to Haiti at first, but the rotation itself was the most impactful rotation that I had through all of my mods. And it also was, it had the most variety. So I get like tired of doing the same thing each and every day. I don't know, it was just very interesting. So I'm not sure what Dr. Gable has shared so far, but basically we spent a lot of our time at the family care health center with Dr. Gable at her practice site, and we were able to interview different patients and talk to different patients about their mental health concerns, and just have, I don't know, I felt like we had a lot of experiences with different types of social situations and different patients with different mental health problems. We were also able to get a trauma-informed care awareness training, which was not on the site of Dr. Gable's practice site. And that basically allowed us to get extensive training on how to approach patients that have had trauma in their lives. And to me, that was very impactful because today, even though it hasn't been that long, I feel like I have an advantage because I have all of this training in how to approach patients that may or may not have experienced trauma. And I feel like I have a heightened awareness of patients, and not even just patients, just human beings that may have experienced things that I haven't. And so I can approach them in the correct way. We also did a mental health first aid class that helped us identify patients that may need help with contacting, getting resources for suicidality, or getting resources, and kind of helped us with training on how to talk to patients that may be having a mental health breakdown. We also did some stuff with opioid use disorder, because of before the COVID-19 pandemic, there was an epidemic on opioid use disorder that we were all concerned about, which we still are, but we did a lot on that. And so anyways, the rotation just had a lot of variety, and it was very impactful. We also were able to spend time with a company that helps patients get placed for patients that are homeless that also may have mental health disorders. And we were able to do a visit, like do house visits with all of those patients and check in on them. And I don't know, just like basically assess what the impact was for that program that they were a part of. And so anyways, I just felt like it was an impactful rotation, and the variety was like, I didn't even expect to have that much variety after the Haiti part was eliminated. But regardless of whether you get to go to Haiti or not, I think the rotation is important, and I think you will feel like I feel like it will be rewarding regardless of if you go to Haiti or not. So.
Okay, thank you. And so that is Haiti. So the travel time for Haiti, can you remind us, Dr. Gable, which modules that would be?
Yeah, so this is the start. This is module, oh my goodness, is that 7? Help me out
7
there,
in February,
folks.
yeah.
Thank you, yep. At the start of the spring semester, and we plan for travel usually in December. So I help you with that process, and I'm on all the emails that are planning because we do flights all together as a group. And we talk about the cost of things as well, which you can make payment plans if needed. And if you don't end up traveling, they do try to wait, at least in this past year, a little bit later, just to follow the unrest and to follow if traveling is safe. And it's never an option to travel if we don't think it's safe for you to go.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, February 22, hopefully we're in a much better place than now. All right. Next up, we're going to talk about the Antigua Guatemala rotation. This one is hosted by myself and Dr. Vogler, where we bring students to Guatemala and students spend 4 weeks there. So we can bring up to 4 students, 3 APPE students, and up to 1 MPAC student. This one does have a Spanish prerequisite because we're in Guatemala and everybody speaks Spanish there. But one nice thing about Guatemala is they do speak very slowly and very articulately. So it is a good place for students to get to learn Spanish. And so with this rotation, this is also module 7. Students do 2 weeks medical Spanish with a one-on-one tutor that's almost like an immersion type medical Spanish. And then they do 3 weeks ambulatory care clinics and clinics that are continually run in Antigua, Guatemala. And these are free public health clinics that are ongoing year round. So we do a lot of public health education for the patients, education for the providers in clinic. And we also partner with the St. Louis University physicians, and they send their medical students there. And so it is an interdisciplinary rotation. We do keep to a regular work week for the most part. And so we go to clinic Monday through Friday, and then students have the weekends for excursions and travel and other activities in Antigua or elsewhere. Antigua itself is a really small town that is a nice tourist area in Guatemala. And so it is a very safe area. I think it's literally 7 square blocks by 7 square blocks. So if you keep on going in one direction for long enough, eventually you'll reach the end of town and then know that you have to turn around or where to go back, or you can get to a central square. And even if you walk the blocks all day long, I think eventually you'd be able to find your way home. It does have its own tourism police too. So they have people there, much like our national parks, where you might notice there's a ranger there, things like that, that can help provide directions and instructions. For this, you do have to take Dr. Nieto's medical Spanish elective. So again, some Spanish proficiency would be needed. So if you're interested in that and you're a P1 or a P2, start brushing up on your Spanish, because the medical Spanish elective is in the fall of the P3 year. And then Dr. Vogler, did you have anything to add for Antigua?
I think you covered most of it. I don't know, would you like me to talk a little bit about some of the excursions?
Sure.
Sure. So, up in the top right corner, you can see the ancient Mayan ruins, which is not in Antigua. It's about a 10-hour bus ride or a hour plane ride to the ruins. And it's one of those National Geographic kind of wonders of the world. Amazing to see. That's an opportunity to do on one of the weekends. There is a marketplace called the Chi Chi Market that allows you to get some opportunities to barter for goods and see all of the different things that the Guatemalan people craft, whether it's little dolls or purses to leather items to food. So just a great experience there. There's a lake called Lake Atalan, which I went to in March, and it's a beautiful lake. And great overlooks, and obviously the volcanoes. You can climb the volcano, which Pacaya is an awesome volcano to roast marshmallows at the top by just sticking your stick about a foot into the earth. And I think we have a lot of day-to-day kind of excursions after clinic where we can go to a coffee plantation and see how the coffee is produced, macadamia nuts, also how they collect them. And the people there are just so caring and appreciative of everything that you do. So, I really felt like I was very valued, and even my broken Spanish, they seemed to understand and I could communicate with them. So if that's your hesitation, start working on your Spanish now, you'll do great.
Okay, thank you. And we'll talk more about this in the breakout room and the schedules that we have. See what's next. Jamaica.
Okay, so I want to introduce Gigi Trivedi, who is my lead student pharmacist. She's a student at Wayne State University, and she was a superstar. She was really brave. She didn't know any of us. I met her at the airport in Jamaica, and she traveled all by herself to join our group there. So we started in 2005. We weren't able to go this summer, obviously. A small group of us planned to go in December. No students will be allowed to go, but we want to keep our streak alive of doing the service every year. This is in one part of Montego Bay and one up in the mountain. Gigi, do you have?
Yes, I have
Misty,
the
if you'll
slide.
stop sharing your slides, and then I will just turn it over to Gigi.
Okay. Yeah, so I actually got to go to the Jamaica Dental Mission last year. It was my first year, and they've been going for 20 years, and they have 3 clinics set up over 4 days. One's about an hour away from where we stay, and the other 2 are closer. The one that's an hour away is in the elementary school, which is in the mountains. And so we fly into Montego Bay and we stay locally in Montego Bay, and then our sites, we travel by bus. And so the scheduled dates for next year are July 17th to the 24th. And so that's obviously regarding whatever status is of travel. The overall trip schedule is Saturday. We all arrive and try to coordinate flights and come in during the same time. Then we have an orientation with all the dentists and the dental students. Sunday to Wednesday are usually clinic days. And so clinics can go from, we wake up around 6 and we'll eat, and then they can go as long, if you're at Q Park, then your day could be till 9. Otherwise, the ones that are a bit local and shorter because they're not as further away. Thursday, we typically do a clinic for the staff at the resort. Last year, we did not do this because it was actually their 20th anniversary. So they threw us a party, which was super cute. And the hotel resort staff was able to come to the clinics on the other days. Friday is a free day, so that's when we typically hung out at the hotel, just relaxed, got to unwind and reflect on the week and what we did together. And then there's also options for excursions that we also participated in. And then Saturday we fly back. This is how typically our day starts off. We eat breakfast. What's really nice about the hotel staff is that they wake up early, like earlier than when the hotel is supposed to open up, so that we're well fed. They fill up our water bottles with ice water because it is very hot when we go. And they just take extremely good care of us. So right now, everyone here is all just people that are on the trip serving before they go out to the clinics. And so then we all ride buses to our designated clinics. Like I said, the one in the mountains a little bit further. So it's a bit of a longer ride, but it's also a great way to get to know everyone else and your like the pharmacist and the dentist. We're all traveling together. And this is the view of Q Park, the mountains. It's absolutely gorgeous. So this was where the site was actually originally established, which is in Q Park, and we set up, that's where we see the most patients for sure. And people come up here, they line up before we even start. There's a line going and they'll peep through the windows to see us set up. And typically what we do here is the pharmacy is responsible for the intake. And basically we're the first health professionals they see and they're last. And so during the intake, we'll check them in, get their medication history, document any allergies, and then we'll measure their blood pressure and their blood sugar if they have a history of diabetes. And then we convey that information to the dentist before they start triaging them. And then once they get their procedures, whether it's a cleaning or extraction or anything like that, they come back to us. And if they're just at a cleaning, then we give them toothbrush and a toothpaste. If not, then we have to fill prescriptions, so like pain medications such as acetaminophen or ibuprofen, and we will give them any post-op instructions if they had extractions, such as not sucking through a straw or anything like that. And so as you can see, there's people lined up outside waiting for us to start the treatments. And this is, for most of these patients, this is the only time they have access to this type of care. So they are actually waiting all year for us to come back, which is super heartbreaking because this year we're going in December, but they do wait for this every year. And here's some nice pictures of all the amazing Jamaicans. This is Q Park, so it is an elementary school, and so they let us set up and we completely transform it into a dental clinic while we are there. And we work closely with the dental team. Sometimes they'll ask us to help them. We by far never are really touching the patient. Maybe it's a child that needs kind of help. You know, they're a little bit nervous or things like that, but we're never actually performing anything, just assisting them as needed. The second clinic is Cambridge, and it's a health center, and they let us set up their takeover there too. And this picture of that, it's actually a decent sized clinic, and it's kind of the same operations, just not as large of a scale as Q Park. And that's Dr. Roselli Wrestling, one of the kids. And Flankers is our home clinic, and Dr. Lynch is his home. He's there all 4 days. And this is locally closest to where we are staying. And there's lots of people from the city come in there, and they're waiting all day for us to take care of them. And I don't know, do you want to add anything about your home, Dr. Lynch?
I just, and I know I may not be able to say that without crying, but when I went in for my heart procedure back in whenever that was, September, I had found out that Flankers community had gotten together and they all had like a 24-hour prayer vigil for me while I was having that done, and it still makes me cry.
Yeah.
They're just the best.
They're very, very sweet. And they all love Dr. Lynch and Dr. Roselli a lot. So going over again, I had described, this is a role of the pharmacy students that we're conducting, documenting, measuring blood pressure, assessing blood glucose levels, and counseling patients on their respective medications, and also making any interventions. So sometimes dentists will accidentally prescribe ibuprofen to pregnant patients. So we'll say, hey, this patient's actually breastfeeding or pregnant. Can we give them Tylenol instead? And it's usually a very easy switch for us to do. And this is another pictures of it. This is how our pharmacy is set up at Q Park. And so you can see behind the table, we have our medications and our counters. And then we'll also give them any gouges that they need or any like cleaning supplies or anything like that. We also give toys to every kid because obviously I was terrible going to the dentist, so kids do not love going. They don't like going there in Jamaica either, but they do look forward to getting their toy every year. So we fundraise and we get donations and get lots of toys. So every kid gets at least one toy for every time they come in. And this is an overview of what we've done over the past couple of years. 20 years actually. Last year we saw 1,018 patients in 4 days, and then we had the breakdown of what those procedures we did. And then over 20 years we've seen almost 20,000 patients, which is very, very amazing. And this is where we stay. It is an all-inclusive resort. We do kind of take over it for the most part, but there will be other people there as well. It's right on the beach. It's absolutely gorgeous. The service there is amazing. They're so appreciative of what we do for them while we're there during the week, and they take care of us like we are family. And yeah, I think, and then so last year this was a picture of, they do cook, they provide us meals like for lunches when we are at the clinics, and they'll be cooking in extreme heat, and they're just so happy that we're taking care of them. They'll give us great meals. I actually was vegetarian and they still provided me with great meals too, which in Jamaica, not a lot of people knew what being vegetarian was, but they're more than happy to take care of me. And then they did throw us a party at the end to just celebrate 20 years. And they threw us a concert and there was singing and dancing. And so the family you build there and the mentorship, I've got Dr. Lynch and Dr. Roselli are one of my biggest mentors. And so the relationships you build here, many students that I obviously would have probably never met before are now like some of my closest friends. And so it's a very great experience educationally and just personally too. And so, yeah.
Thank you, Gigi. And we'll be happy to talk to people about it more in the breakout room after we're done with this part.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Gigi.
Yes, thank you. I'll pull up the screen again. Okay. It's Haiti. All right, India is next. And this one is also Dr. Gable's rotation that participates in, an exchange of students. And I think you have a guest speaker as well.
I do. James, are you on and can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Yay. Okay, so I'm going to let James do most of the talking, but I'll share that we've been doing this exchange since 2014, and it really is a beautiful experience for you to spend around 4 weeks in the southern part of India. We also host 2 students from JSS that come here for 8 weeks, and oftentimes you have the opportunity to meet them along the way. James just got back from this trip in November of this past year, right before the pandemic really limited travel. And so I'm really grateful for him to be here. He's actually practicing in his residency and taking the time to come and share with us. And so I'm going to let you share and be as candid as you'd like, because I think some of the struggles students often have is being so far away from home and traveling so far. And so share hopefully with them some of your experiences, James, and why you would encourage them to do this.
Yeah, so absolutely. So it is a very long flight. I think it took us about 17 hours to get there. I think at one point on the way back, I could watch like 4 movies or something. But it is a very far, complete other side of the world. But you get to go to 2 different locations. And I think kind of what differentiates this from the other global experiences is that it is kind of like an exchange student program, because we do partner with the JSS College of Pharmacy. And they treat you pretty much like royalty. I mean, you are their guests, and they, you have pretty nice accommodations. You're staying basically on campus with their college, right next to the medical college and the dental college, and all of that. And you essentially are doing rotations within hospitals, just like you would be doing over here, but it's extremely different. And if you would watch like the YouTube video, I think they provide in the link, there's quite a bit. I want to say there's like 5 or 6 different levels of pharmacy as far as degrees that you can get, with the PharmD being the newest one that they have over there. And really they're kind of building up that doctorate of pharmacy practice. So getting to see how everybody's doing that, how they're working in the hospitals, you know, and how pharmacists are getting kind of inserted into like clinical, you know, rounds of that. It's a pretty cool experience. And you get to go to Mysore, India, which is kind of, it used to be the capital of the state of Karnataka. So it's kind of a more well built out city. But then there's also a secondary location, which is the state to the south, which is kind of like a half-day trip through the mountains and through like a national park. I want to say it was like Bandipur Tiger Reserve, which we were able to do a safari there, like on our way to Ooty in the mountains. And Ooty was extremely beautiful. The hospital we got to go there was completely different, where in Mysore, it's a private hospital. And Ooty was a government-run hospital, so you get to see, you know, quite a bit differences between the two. So those are all really good experiences. And I think what really made this trip for me, though, was the interaction with the students. The first weekend that we were there, the students were throwing like a festival, just like a traditional festival with all of their customs and culture. And so we kind of, you know, asked to join their little dance routine and practice with them, and we really bonded with them. And that was so huge because just we had really good friends for the entire 5 weeks to help us show us around. You know, they went out of their way for us to take us on like trips when we got like our Saturdays off and to do other things. And there's a ton of culture and history there, obviously, especially in Mysore. They have Mysore Palace, which is arguably like the second most visited place in India, right behind the Taj Mahal. And they have all kinds of temples. There's a big temple up on a giant like mountain called Chamundi Hill right there in Mysore that's basically overlooking the entire city. They have one of the oldest markets there that's like, you know, thousands of years old, where you can literally see like oils and spices and silks. Sandalwood is a really big product that they have there and that they're pretty famous for. It goes in a lot of shampoos, smells amazing. And then they have some other cool things that we did in Mysore. We went to like the zoo there, which doesn't seem that exciting, but you got to think it's a zoo on the other side of the world. So they had a lot of really cool stuff to look at. And then in Ooty, again, like we got to work at the government hospital. As far as like a day-to-day routine, I guess I didn't talk about that, but you're essentially living on campus. We would get on a bus in the morning. It would drive us to the hospital. It's about a half hour across the city, maybe like 20 minutes, depending on traffic. There are no stoplights or anything like that. So traffic is pretty crazy and intimidating at first, but you get used to it. And then we would just work on rotations just like we would here at the hospital. Like I spent a week in the ICU. They were pretty flexible, like what you wanted to see, what your interests were. Other people got to see pediatrics. You know, other people just got to do like regular medicine floors. So, you know, they were super flexible and super willing to accommodate us in that regard. And then in addition to just the big like 1,800 bed hospital that's in Mysore, we also got to go to some smaller specialty hospitals. One was a cancer hospital, one was an HIV hospital. We got to work in those hospitals, which was kind of cool to see the differences. Then going back to Ooty in the mountains, Ooty was a lot different vibe than what Mysore was. So it was kind of established by the British, and there's a lot of tea plantations up there in the mountains. There's a lot of gardens. They're pretty famous for the chocolate. They have a big chocolate factory that we got to tour there. And then they have another JSS campus, which where we stayed up there in the mountains as well. So that's about all I can really speak to. The students and the faculty were amazing to us. That's what really made the trip, kind of made you feel welcome. And so, I still Snapchat with some of my friends that I made over there now. They've graduated as well, and gone. A lot of them go into industry, so they're working for some big pharmaceutical companies on the industry side, and that's pretty fun to hear from them and to send stuff back to them.
What a cool way to make connections across the world. I love that. That's beautiful.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, and there's also lots of different pictures and videos on our SIUE SOP Global Education page where you can see a lot of pictures. I think, were you being carried away by a group of people in a parade?
Yeah, so I was. There was that first festival that we went to that we volunteered to be a part of. They had all kinds of traditional things, traditional dancing, traditional like sword fighting, traditional food, and then all of like the different levels of pharmacy from like P1 to P6 and the pharmacy program had a tug of war challenge, and so I jumped in on the tug of war challenge and helped the P6 class win, and so I was revered as a hero and carried around. It was kind of fun.
It's a great video.
That's wonderful. All right. I really appreciate you coming on, James, to share. I know you've got to get back to your other business, so thank you very much. It's really great to learn from you, especially since you were just there. So thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And I think next we have a relatively newer experience, and this is one where we can kind of bring on the global education on the state side with lots of local opportunities for volunteering. And I think Dr. Fan is on.
Yep, I'm here. Yeah, this is kind of unusual comparing to all the other experiences you have heard so far. And this is the first time we're actually presenting this opportunity. And I think kind of COVID make us think outside the box with regarding to the different types of experience you can have. So this clinic has, so the SIUE has been involved with this Chinese clinic since 2017, but we continue to expand our involvement. So what you hear now is more of the more recent development, so it's a little bit different from the beginning. So in the beginning, I was the only preceptor for the Chinese clinic. And then last year, we got Dr. Johnny Tron from class of 2017 involved as an external preceptor. And we're looking for more preceptors as well. So essentially what this clinic is, it's a monthly clinic at the St. Louis Modern Chinese School. And we work alongside with SLU medical students as well as WashU medical students. And they are also volunteer physicians that are with the SSM SLU group, and they will come and serve as the attending physicians. So for those of you that might have done IPPE in the ambulatory care setting, or maybe even just, as a patient, you've seen ambulatory clinic, this is very similar. It's kind of a pop-up clinic in the US. So this is in St. Louis, not like the other experience where you travel abroad. But you work with a team of medical students. So we usually put 1 or 2 pharmacy students with the medical students. There are usually at least 2 medical students, one of which will speak Chinese. So we have patients that sign up for a slot, and the team will interview the patient to get their chief complaint and their medical history, medication history, and medication, like any kind of compliance issues, or get their symptoms. So basically kind of similar to what we do in a regular clinic. And the pharmacy students will also help out with blood pressure screening, and help medical students to kind of come up with an assessment and plan. And then after we interview the patients, then the team will take the patient to see the attending physician. So the medical student will present the patient to the attending, and then the attending physician will kind of speak with the patient and develop a plan. So pharmacy students and the pharmacy preceptor help along the way to gather history, as well as providing guidance on some of the assessment and plan for their medication therapy. Where we come up to be very helpful is to help the medical student figure out what medications should be used and what medication will be cost effective. Because I think a lot of these medical students are first year students, so they just started with their interview skills. They don't have a lot of disease state management knowledge yet. They certainly don't know all the drugs, and they don't know how it works in a pharmacy. So in terms of generic brand, what's less expensive, and then how to call in a prescription, they need a lot of help from pharmacy students. So, and Tatiana's on, so she can kind of talk about her experience in August as well. I kind of forgot that she's here. And basically so that pretty much everything I said on the slides, I already mentioned. So I want to kind of turn to Tatiana, see if she's got some input.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Fan. It was like really great experience because we also just started on P2, started in our labs, just interviewing the patients and doing all that. And it's like, it was just 1 week, I believe, after our classes have started. And it was like, oh, here we go. It's a great place to practice that. We also, of course, didn't know so many stuff, but it was kind of nice to get feedback from the physicians. So what we're doing wrong, or what can we kind of have to improve on, or maybe ask patients the right way how to do that. So it was great thing, like the patient got some of her medications from the $4 list drugs, and one of the medications, like she overpaid for that, obviously, because she used cheaper for her was like using 30 days supply or 90 days, but she was in the middle, she was 60 days, and she like paid like maybe 3 times more than she's supposed to. And it was nice like to catch that, and it's like, oh yeah, I know something, look at this. It was really great experience, and I would like to thank you one more time, Dr. Fan, for that amazing experience.
Thank you. And we see a lot of chronic diseases as well. So like for P2s, it's actually really helpful to practice diabetes and cardiovascular, like hypertension, things like that. So it's a good way to bring out the therapeutic topics in real life. And it's a great interprofessional experience as well. We work, really closely with the medical students. So, but as you can see, we were wearing PPEs during the clinic, so everybody get temperature checks and things like that. So we are protected that way. So as far as signing up, this is sponsored through SNAFA. So there's usually a call for volunteers from the SNAFA president. So if you're interested, keep an eye out for opportunities to sign up. And this will count as your PPD event with PPD event. Category B, is that right? I think it's health.
Category
A. Okay,
Yeah.
A, category A for PPD.
Thank you. And again, you don't have to speak Chinese to participate in the Chinese clinic, correct?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, right? So like I said, each team has at least one Chinese speaking medical student. So they usually kind of do the translation. I kind of float around the different teams to help with Chinese. And it's really interesting because I don't think any of us are really that awesome in Chinese, especially when it comes to medical Chinese. So we really help each other out with looking up things using Google Translate. There are a lot of medications in Chinese that I don't know. So I just Google it and then find out, oh, that's, actually a statin. So we kind of learn along the way as well. So it's really fun to look up things together.
Awesome. A lot of creative problem solving, I'm sure. All right, so overall, the reason why we really want to promote global education is because it really does add to the growth of the pharmacist as far as creative problem solving, cultural awareness, being able to understand where different backgrounds are coming from, just to change your perspective on different health disparities and how people communicate, and really can help develop a well-rounded pharmacist. So we want you to take advantage of the opportunities. If you can travel, go ahead and do so while you're in school. And if you can get a lot of cultural awareness and opportunities even locally, like with our Chinese clinic. So definitely feel free to volunteer, and when the call out goes out, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and sign up for things, or at least explore them. And speaking of call out, I am going to send a Qualtrics link that is to assess for your interest in any of these rotation experiences, so you don't have to be ready to go, especially if you're a P1 or a P2. Most of these are for the P3 year. So when you get that, feel free to answer the survey, gauge your interest, and that just lets us know as faculty who we should reach out to when the time comes to set up those travel. Okay, now it's time for Q&A, and we have different breakout rooms for each of the different Q&A sessions. So you'll have to end this meeting, and those Zoom links are there, and then go into the next meeting for whichever group you're most interested in.
Okay. I'm off to the Jamaica room.
Okay, thank you.
Apparently I pasted twice. So I'll keep this chat open, and then we'll be at the other chat or the other meeting, not the chat open. We'll keep this meeting open just so people can come back here and look at the meeting IDs.
Okay.
I'll hang out in this main room too,
Oh, cool.
in case anybody pops on.
Awesome.